Chelsea versus Real Madrid, Part 2, coming up next on SportsMax 2. We have the full gang, finally, and Brent Sancho has joined us. And before we get deep into discussion between Chelsea and Real Madrid, we know we love getting predictions from Brent, and he missed out on the discussion a little bit earlier in regards to Napoli and AC Milan. And I really want to hear your predictions and your thoughts before the predictions about this matchup.
Well, first of all, you don't give credit when I do get the predictions correct. But I'm not.
That's true.
I'm not arguing. I'm not fighting. I'm not saying anything. But I do feel that Napoli will come back and win this tie 2-1. And as it relates to the tie itself, I do think that Victor Osimhen is a big addition to this fixture, and I think he would have his say in this one.
Yeah, I mean, he was always going to be critical, and he was missing in the first leg. He has been missing the last few games, and they haven't quite looked the same, Napoli. But it sounds as if you are a bit of a romantic, Brent.
I wouldn't call it romantic. I'd call it more pragmatic and probably understanding what the big man brings to the forward line. I think when he's on his game, he's almost unplayable. And I just don't see anyone within the Milan structure to stop him. He's shown it before throughout the season. He's dominated Serie A. And he's a big part of scoring goals. If you look at the first tie, a lot of chances were created, but they couldn't finish. And I think he is the one that would finish the chances.
Well, let's go to the match at hand now. The first leg, Real Madrid barely got out of first gear, in my opinion, and that is a scary proposition for Chelsea, as Los Blancos walked right over them at the Bernabeu. Here are the highlights of the first leg.
Last two winners of the UEFA Champions League meet remarkably for a third consecutive season in the knockout stages of Europe's elite club competition. Chelsea put out Real Madrid in the semi-finals on their way to becoming champions in 2021, but Real got their revenge at this stage a year ago, though only by the skin of their teeth. It's Dani Carvajal. And it's Benzema on the spot after Vinicius chased it down. And Real Madrid do know how to score goals. Rodrigo away again, and a hand on it by Chilwell, denying a goal-scoring opportunity as well. It's a red card. Oh, there's your second goal. And taking the applause is Marco Asensio. For Correa. And his mount. Well, he loved that, didn't he, Antonio Rudiger? The final score of the first leg here is Real Madrid 2, Chelsea 0.
Eric, as I said before, it is a scary proposition because, in my opinion, Real Madrid didn't get out of first gear at all in that first leg, and they looked quite easy against Chelsea.
Yeah, Madrid does have a certain quality that sometimes can make it look quite easy, but I agree. I think if they really stepped it up, it could have been much worse for Chelsea, even though Chelsea did have a few moments in transition.
They had the first moment.
Exactly, the
Felix.
beginning of the game, through Felix one-on-one, and I think shortly after they had another transition moment where they could have done a lot more. So, you know, it is that game, and when you play a quality team like Real Madrid, if you don't take those chances, and especially if you're already not in the best form against a solid Madrid, it's going to be very difficult, and Real Madrid makes it look very easy then how they control that game. Here we see that moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, as I say, if you play against Madrid in a knockout stage in the Champions League, we just talk about the importance of Osimhen back at Napoli.
Yep.
They need a striker. I even look at the lineup again today, and they need some goal-scoring power, and this has to be 100% goal. You put Haaland here, you put Osimhen here, you put top strikers there, that's a goal. And you don't score, you don't score, and Madrid will find the net.
There are certain intangibles which occur in football, which is determined by a player's mood, a player's will, and sometimes divine intervention. But sometimes football is all about what you see. And what we have seen, one, is pretty straightforward. Chelsea is expected to struggle. Real Madrid is expected to wipe them across the floor. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. You're absolutely right. And also in the environment. I mean, if you compare Stamford Bridge to the Santiago Bernabeu, it's a freezer. There's no environment. There's no life. It's a dead stadium most of the time over in London. So if you look at it from that perspective, there's very little that's going to be backing Chelsea. But they have to back themselves. They're the ones that have to come out on the front foot. They're the ones that have to go out and attack. Real Madrid's the one that can wait and pounce and wait and see if they can get that third and basically kill off the match with that goal. But I see very little, especially in the stadium they're going to be playing.
Brent, I know that you're in London, so at the risk of you being run out of London, do you agree with what Juan just said?
Yeah, no, I actually was at Stamford Bridge yesterday, and it was a very strange mood. I think coming off of the backdrops of the comments that Frank Lampard would have made about the new owner coming into the locker room and of course making statements to the players. It seems like it is a club in chaos. It seems like it is being done on the hit, and it just seems like a very chaotic place. And then when you juxtapose that against 500 odd million spent in transfer fees, you're thinking to yourself, what is going on? And it really is not the type of environment that you would welcome a very rampant Real Madrid team and a team that normally look at this Champions League as their own.
Yeah, we're going to transition to Real Madrid for just a little bit, Eric. But we're talking about the players that they have, and we can choose from a number of players, right? But if we were to concentrate only on what took place in that first leg, Vinny Jr. again was on fire. He has really stepped up to the plate in the last couple of seasons. There was, of course, a question mark over him whether he had the quality to be a world-class player. We knew he was very good. We knew that he was talented. But would he be that world-class player? He's answering those questions in recent times, Eric.
Yeah, I like to look at South American players in general, and because Ajax from experience has had those players on Netherlands, and a lot of time the question is, can they add some efficiency to their game outside of the flair? And I think I use Vinicius often as example because I thought from the day one at Madrid he brought that flair, but I think it's really been after 2 seasons he was there that he was able to add efficiency, put goals, put assists, and not just be able to beat a player once, 2, 3 times. No, beat a player because it makes sense for the follow-up pass or shot. And I think he's going to have a very long career because I've seen that focus of him to really improve his game. And I mean, he's very talented, and to be performing this consistent at a club like Real Madrid, it's been impressive.
And one, just to bring in the conversation here, because you can speak to his maturity. I remember a game a couple of seasons ago where a hot mic picked up Benzema. I think he was telling Mendy not to pass it to Vinicius Jr. because he was working for the opponents. Of course, Vinny didn't take that personally. He actually improved over the seasons. What do you mark his improvement? What does it go down to over the last couple of seasons for Vinny?
You know, a lot of the credit has to be given to the initial work that was being done by Zinedine Zidane, and then complementing that work was Carlo Ancelotti when he came in and truly started giving him a more protagonistic role. So much so that he's become one of the leaders offensively. Not only leaders offensively, he's become one of Karim Benzema's best associates in terms of scoring and creating chances in front of goal. You see that partnership really working out. And this year has been kind of chaotic for him if you look at it from a La Liga perspective with everything that's extracurricular that's gone on. But he's been able to answer it the best way he can, scoring goals, creating assists, breaking down players, and of course getting victories for Real Madrid, especially in Champions League.
Brent, let's talk about Benzema for a bit. His last 11 Champions League goals, and when I saw this, I had to do a double take because I really wasn't sure, but his last 11 Champions League goals have come against English teams. Now, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson wanting to sign Benzema. I think it was back in 2008 or thereabouts. Obviously, he had an eye on him destroying defenders in the English Premier League, and it seems as if he has the English teams on the lock and key.
English teams, French teams, Dutch teams. Listen, this is a guy that obviously was under the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo for quite a long time, and being here in England and listening to the remarks made about how great a player Harry Kane is and the different English striker. Listen, there is, and yes, I travel tomorrow, so I can speak freely about this.
I am praying for you, Brent. I really am.
You mean one English pundit that said that?
I'm in the airport tomorrow, so I'll make sure I can say this and get out quickly. But,
all right.
No, look, at the end of the day, when you talk about top strikers that ever play the game, you have to speak about Benzema. There's no doubt about it. His movement, his ability to finish, what I like about him, he can create his own chances. And not many forwards in world football can create their own chances. And this is a guy has been consistently great, not good, great for a very long time. And to me, when you start talking Champions League, when you start talking winning trophies, it starts and ends with Karim Benzema.
So why I think that during the Ronaldo era, he wasn't getting that much praises? Do you think that he was not at that level of Ronaldo and will not be, or do you think that he's actually grown to that type of level?
I think, Eric, I think what transpired is that a lot of what Real Madrid did centered around Ronaldo. It's a lot different now. Benzema has taken his team as his own. If we were to, of course, go back in time and there was no Ronaldo with Real Madrid, who knows what kind of stats Benzema would have put up? Because at the end of the day, when you have a Cristiano Ronaldo, an informed Cristiano Ronaldo at his peak, you have to play and utilize him as your focal point. And I think that's what Real Madrid do. And if you look at Real Madrid through the years, once Ronaldo started to step in terms of pace, he started to lose a step, they still played to his strengths. So I think Benzema suffered because of it, but now he's thriving because he's not there.
And I guess we have to praise
that. Don't only forget that point, Brent. It wasn't that he was only contending with Cristiano Ronaldo. He was also contending with trying to be the second scorer behind Gonzalo Higuain. So you also had that going on as well. So him to be able to surpass both of them and establish it and blaze his own trail ends up being really commendable on his part as well.
On top of that, even the whole France situation, it's not been an easy career. So I have to praise really the determination that we've seen from Benzema throughout the years.
All right, let's transition to Chelsea now, because Frank Lampard, the manager, has admitted that Chelsea lacked belief in the first leg. The question is, Eric, that's such a big thing, because we're talking about the mentality of a team, the mentality of a squad, made uncomfortable with the fact that it has been bloated. They lost belief in the first leg. Have they given up on this tie already, you think?
I mean, the players itself really want to come out and do great for them, but there has to be a certain organization behind you that allows you to really focus on the right things. And I think when we look at Chelsea at this situation, it's difficult to look at one match. And it's as we just mentioned, it's the organization behind it that's kind of a chaotic mess right now. And it's difficult as a team to step up, but you know, I think even that's why maybe they went for Lampard. Somebody say, well, maybe that is somebody who can bring a certain energy that can at least make us close off the season in the right way. But it's a very difficult situation for a manager right now to get a team out there, and he's lacking experience on that level as well. So it's a very difficult situation for Chelsea. And I think it comes down to the players today to really step up if they want to have somewhat of a good performance.
And that is the thing, though, Brent, in terms of the professionalism of these players. A few of them, well, they obviously haven't proven it in the recent past, but they are very good players. They are world-class players. Something within them must say, you know what, I need to prove a point. I need to take the game by the scruff of the neck. That's what they're thinking right now. Shouldn't they be, Brent?
Well, first of all, the reason that Lampard is there is because Lampard is willing to dance to the tune of the ownership. That's the only reason he's there. Let's be very, very honest here. He has no business being there. He's had his opportunity. He cannot manage at that level. That is point blank. That's a fact. And you just have to look at his track record, and that will tell you all it needs to say. As it relates to the players, players need to be dictated to. If any player at the top level, they need a regimented system, they need structure, they need discipline, they need a plan. There is none of that in Chelsea. So as much as a player is a professional and all of that, they cannot perform to their highest capabilities or ability if there's none of that in place. Chelsea doesn't have it. So no matter how good and talented individually they are, from a team perspective, when you look at Chelsea's lineup, particularly under Frank Lampard, they look clueless. And that's a fact. And it's nothing going to change today. They may start off well, they may get a chance, they may score. But you know for a fact they're going to fall apart at some point in time And that is when things get really hot and bothered for Chelsea.
And I think even outside of that, when you look at the front forward, the front line and the players up top who have to create something, it's not good enough. I think even if they were a proper club right now with a good manager, is that in this lineup that we're looking for this match, is this really a lineup that can beat Real Madrid? I doubt it.
Well, let's now hear from the manager, Frank Lampard, who spoke about that first leg.
Yeah, I've studied both games from last year. I don't always study games from previous years, but I think it was important because there's a lot of similarities in personnel through the team, and so I felt it was important for myself and the staff to look at that. We also had the quick reference of last week in terms of Madrid and how they generally set up and the threats that they have and how we want to approach that. I think when you talk about last week, we had opportunities to score there and make the scoreline better. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that we could have done better in that game. I felt it in game, and I feel it even more having reviewed the game. There were things that we wanted to do from the outset that we didn't do well enough throughout the game. And I'm not just talking about the physical side there. I'm talking about, at this level in terms of our use of the ball. So I think we can improve on that tomorrow, and we have to improve on that tomorrow to have a better chance of turning this game around. So that's for us to work on, and hopefully you see the fruits of that in the game tomorrow, because the players, I'm quite clear with the players of where I see with that, and I know that the players have the capacity to really give this a good go, but we must get our game right and be better than we were last week.
Yeah, Frank Lampard, the quintessential example of one who believes. Well, Chelsea played with 10 men for most of the second half after Ben Chilwell was sent off. Wadarango, they only conceded once. I'm not sure if that gives them hope, or does it highlight that Real Madrid really was a wild animal that played around with its food in that second half? Juan?
Is this the guy that had Everton close to relegation?
Same brother.
Yeah. Mendy, Reece James, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kante, Kovacic, Marcos Alonso, Havertz, Mount, Timo Werner. A lot of changes compared to that lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the lineup today. So I don't know which highlight he was looking at. But I mean, to be quite honest with you, first and foremost, Super Frank is no super coach. That's to be honest with you. And second of all, we look at the other end of the spectrum. Carlo Ancelotti did mention a little while ago that Chelsea was their biggest test last year. He talked about last year en route to the title, Chelsea were their biggest test en route to their 14th Champions League. This year, come on.
Yeah, a lot can change in a year, and I mean, it's almost cruel to think of the minor stuff, but Koulibaly being injured isn't a minor thing. You reckon that they would have needed him against Real Madrid, but they are going to be without him today. And of course, the other big thing is the fact that Chilwell is not going to be there as well. So you're talking about defensive and offensive-minded players at the back, obviously, missing for the second leg here.
Right now, Ben Chilwell was probably an asset being out of the lineup, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah?
The way he's been playing.
Brent, what do you think?
No, listen, I mean, Frank Lampard obviously would point it and look at it as an issue, but I don't think it really changes things. They've not really been a formidable defense. They've not really been a stingy defense all season. I don't think overnight someone's going to snap their fingers and they're going to stop Real Madrid from scoring goals. It doesn't work that way. As I said before, there's a lot both under the surface and on the surface, meaning on the pitch, that is not going right. I think one of them is defensively. They've been very frail. They've allowed teams, of course, to dictate to them. And they look very shaky defensively. And I think that's going to continue tonight. And no matter who he puts in that lineup, like, it goes back to what I said originally. There seems to be no real plan within the football club. And of course, that the players are sensing that, and it's going to be an uphill battle for Chelsea.
Well, gentlemen, another break is upon us. When we return, we take a look at the starting lineup and preview the possible tactics by both teams. Stay with us.